Everybody, welcome to the webinar this afternoon. Appreciate you all taking a moment to out of your day to attend and listen to what we've put together here today. I don't know if we're going to go a full hour, but we're going to dive right into it really fast. My name is Aaron Hockel, one of the partners at Alta Vista Strategic Partners. We are a marketing agency, proud members of the CPIA. We work for a significant number of commercial painters and also about 600 commercial service contractors around the country. We put this together today to talk kind of about how AI search is really shaking up and changing SEO across the board here. So without really holding back here, we'll just dive right into it. There is a Q&A. It is all set up. Please feel free to pop them in. We may answer them in real time. We might hold them till the end, right? But either way, we are looking forward to presenting today. Right, so the first thing I have is just a quick agenda for what we're going to cover in the webinar. Really, what is AI search? How does it compare with traditional search? Comparing results, which is a very interesting exercise. Actionable AI search marketing, things that you guys could put into your own businesses, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. Seeing a few comments that people can't see what's on the screen or might not be able to hear. We're kind of showing on our end, our audio is working and our screen is being shared. If that's not the case, maybe it's just on your end, it should be like in the window portal, or it should be right on the, maybe there's a mic issue or an audio issue, but I'm hoping it's working all right. So, all of that being said, I'm going to kind of just keep rolling here. And we are recording this too. So if you do have any issues with the screen or the audio, we'll be able to send out a recording at the end. So kind of diving into it, right? And the first thing here we would talk about is what is AI search, right? And so the first thing I talk about whenever I'm talking about any sort of search, and I do this exercise pretty regularly, right, is are people searching? How often are people looking? And kind of what is it, right? And so what we put together here I just took 5 keywords that any commercial painter would want to show up for in their local market, right? What we can see is kind of a SEMrush volume. SEMrush is a publicly traded SEO software. We can also see a Google keyword volume. This is for the United States every month. So 26,000 searches a month, 22,000. The thing is, this doesn't account for syntax or changes in this or typos or anything else. That's just purely for these 5 terms. I always tell people, you can just comfortably add a 0 to the end of these. And what we mean by this and why we're going through this is really we want to show that there are a lot of people looking for what CPIA members do on the internet. People are looking every day all around the country for commercial and industrial painting contractors, right? So we believe there's a big opportunity here. Again, just a quick slide, and I will be sharing the deck at the end and happy to talk about it if there's any questions. So now that we've established and kind of looked at are people searching, we have this kind of definition of what is AI search, right? And so the idea of AI search is that it really uses artificial intelligence to answer questions directly versus returning a list of links. Everyone's used Google before. You search for something on Google, you just get a huge list of links, you get a map, right? Everyone's very familiar with what, that traditional kind of search looks like. AI is much more Q&A. It goes back and forth. It's conversational. And it really just uses your dialogue back and forth to kind of formulate answers. And then, it is really also changing the way that people research contractors, compare services, and gather information. The core difference, and the AI overview on Google is a great example. If you say, who are 3 commercial painters near the San Diego airport, and we're going to do this later, it'll just tell you in the AI overview who they are. On the other side of it, what it might give you is, on the traditional, it would just give you 10 links, right? And we're going to look at all that. So the big takeaway here is that AI is conversational and goes back and forth and gives you information in more of a conversation or like almost an exchange. Traditional search kind of gives you that list of links. right? So the next thing I pulled really, right, are, again, AI gives you answers, search gives you links, right? AI creates content, search discovers content. So every answer on AI is new. It can create an email list, it can do comparisons, presentations, it can code. Traditional search really just finds and provides what's already exists on the internet. Easy example, if you searched on traditional search and said, hey, what would be a great idea for social media posts for a commercial painting contractor? Traditional search is going to give you a list of links to articles and blogs and websites about that topic. AI just gives you that list and gives you that, right? We also say that AI uses natural language. Natural language tends to be more long form, whereas traditional search is more keyword driven, short, punchy kind of inquiries, right? So those are the two big differences. People who are using both will kind of know what that is like just from the flavor and the feel. The next thing I want to talk about are some stats here. And, this is a big one because we hear these myths about, ChatGPT is, killing SEO, or AI made SEO obsolete, and all these different things. So we kind of did some research. A lot of this, all these stats and data points are taken from various articles and rankings on SimilarWeb, which is a web analytics company. The first one is ChatGPT ranks number 5 for website traffic globally with 6.2 billion monthly visitors. Number 5 sounds like a lot, right? The reality is Google and YouTube rank number 1 and number 2 globally, and they combine for 115 billion monthly visitors. So while number 5 and 6 billion is a heck of an accomplishment and a heck of a number, the reality is that the two biggest traditional search engines are really almost 19x the size of ChatGPT in terms of visitors. OpenAI, Claude, Grok, Character AI, all those other ones, they combine for another 800 million visitors, right? Bing, by comparison, the number 2 kind of search engine, or kind of that like de facto, the little brother, the step brother to Google, they rank number 10 globally with 3.5 billion visitors a month, right? So you have a little about the traffic to Bing, and people looking on Bing is half of what ChatGPT is. The point of these stats in this slide is really to say, yeah, AI search is coming. Yes, AI is on the rise. Yes, more people are using it. Yes, it's gaining in popularity. The reality is traditional search in terms of use still dwarfs AI use. Of course, AI is coming. We're not dismissing it, and that's what the topic here today is all about. But we just want to make sure that we're highlighting through this the reality of what's happening in the real world and what the stats support. Traditional search engines are still the big place to be. This is an interesting one where the average visit duration on ChatGPT is 6.5 minutes. That could be people asking it to find painters, write emails, do code, analyze spreadsheets, right? But the average visit on Google is actually 9 minutes and 52 seconds. So when people go to Google, they spend more time searching and poking around on average than they do on ChatGPT. It's an interesting stat. Where we talk about the growth, ChatGPT's gone from 100 million users in 2023 to 800 million active weekly users. Again, the point of the slide is we are looking at AI on the rise, and it's growing and it's explosive, but it's not really yet on par with Google. Gemini, which ranks number 2 among AI platforms and is a Google property, gets about 1.2 billion monthly visits. So just some stats here to kind of think about as we look at all this, and kind of here are the big takeaways of those. Traditional search dominates AI search by a 20x margin. Google is still king. It's got number 1 and number 2 in traditional search, and it has the number 2 in AI platform traffic. And it's coming. Gemini is coming for ChatGPT. It is on the rise. It is gaining. These numbers have momentum behind them. There is a real possibility that it reaches, or even Gemini, not just traditional Google, but in terms of the AI platform, catches ChatGPT here. ChatGPT, though, as we talk about it today, it's exploded and it's established itself as the premier AI platform. Other AI platforms are growing. They're all mid-tier compared to ChatGPT. Our recommendation coming out of all the stats and analysis in this from your SEO standpoint and your online presence is if you still focus your marketing efforts on Google and kind of that traditional SEO, while making sure you're optimizing your content and online presence for AI to appear, that's kind of where we are, right? There is no set solution just yet to say, if you do these are the 10 best practices and the 10 things you can do, and they're going to make you rank on ChatGPT. That's just not the reality just yet, right? There is no exact recipe. There are a number of things we're going to look at that we can do, but the reality is if we're focused on having really strong traditional SEO, a good Google presence, and optimizing our content and doing sort of those little things we're going to talk about, right? We're going to increase our likelihood to appear in the AI search. The next thing I want to talk about here, right, is this AI search engine comparison. And this was something I put together, and it's very fascinating to me and very interesting. And, the first thing is, what did we do? We set a goal to establish commercial painters and identify commercial painters near the San Diego airport, right? So that was step number one. Step number two, traditional search. I set my geography on Google to the San Diego airport, and I searched commercial painters near me on Google desktop. From that, we got 8 painters and 2 lead aggregators in our organic results. I then went and I prompted ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini, who are the top 8 commercial painters near the San Diego airport? Please provide the answers in a consolidated list. The idea here is, what's the difference, right? So here are our top 8 painters, right? Again, near the San Diego airport. Interesting blend here, right? I'm sure as we're looking through this, maybe we recognize some of these names. I'm sure most people here listening today recognize that last name, right? But these were the top 8 on Google traditional, right? What becomes interesting next here is we go to ChatGPT and we get Brad Stoner, and we kind of get a different blend here. Again, there might be a name or two on here that some people recognize. But the reality is that there is some variance, right? We can also look at how the results show up here. The results show up much differently. Again, I asked for this consolidated list, so I get this short little punchy list of just name, address, and kind of like, a link to their website, right? Grok gave us another list, right? Again, some of these are big companies, some are small. We do have some more analysis on this coming up. And then, right, the last one was Gemini. And here comes Gemini, right? And again, we can see their results. And what's interesting here is their results don't even link to anything, have addresses. It's just 8 bullet points, right? We kind of go back. Grok has company names, little lists, little reasons why they recommended them, links to their websites for some, not for others. Again, we go back, we get kind of that full address on the ChatGPT one. So the results are also very different, right? Again, just looking at how all this stuff kind of compares. Here are some things that we pulled out, right? There were 22 unique painters across those 4 different screenshots and lists that we looked at. Me, in my sophisticated analysis, I say that only 7 of them are commercial first painters, meaning that the other 15 either had a residential tab, they had a picture of houses on their homepage, they talked residential first, or in my experience, and I've been working with painters for 15 years, I went on their website and I said, this doesn't look like someone who is more commercial than residential, right? So again, I said only 7 of them are really commercial. I'm sure if you guys go back, take this slide and look them up, you could figure it out pretty quickly. Interestingly, only 1 company, Brad Stoner Painting, ranked in all 4 searches, right? This next one kind of gets a little technical on the SEO side, but an interesting point here about Brad Stoner was that they have a domain authority of 20 and over 44,000 backlinks. What that means is they have a really strong organic presence online, and they have a pretty good domain authority. So they're investing in SEO, and that SEO is paying off in terms of strong visibility across all the searches today. Grok's #1 ranked painter was noted for being highly ranked on Yelp. I think Grok is kind of a fraud for this type of stuff, and I don't think anyone should be using Yelp as a resource to determine who's the top commercial painter in any part of the country. But again, I thought it was interesting and worth noting that, hey, look, Yelp matters in some of this stuff, right? We've seen that, and we've seen that on ChatGPT and other places too. And then my last one is there a recipe to rank in the AI search results? And that's what we're going to kind of answer here in this next phase of the presentation. Again, these are the big takeaways from here, and we'll kind of get more into it in the next phase. So how do we rank in these search results, right? If we look back across all those people, the #1 thing that I'm going to say is the companies that are investing into traditional SEO, have invested in SEO, and are committed to SEO, right? They're the ones that were showing up the most consistently across all of those results, right? The reality is, here are some things we can do to help improve our chances of being picked up, right? And the first one is FAQ content. So AI LLMs, large language models, they like FAQs more than they like any other point of content or piece of content or form of content, because it's very easy for them to use that and understand it to formulate answers, right? And so what we would do on our side is, as a painter, come up with these short, concise FAQ questions, and then answer them in direct, clear, easy to understand language, right? So if we're building an FAQ, it's how much does it cost to paint a tilt-up warehouse? Big, loaded question. But if we break that down into sub-questions and we answer each sub-question, so that sub-question could be, what does the labor cost? What does the surface prep cost? What do the materials cost? Right? We can break it down, and then we answer each of those in short, direct parts. We are much more likely to position our content, and thus our company, our brand, our website, etc., into the results of whether it's the AI overview on Google, Gemini, ChatGPT, etc., right? So again, FAQ, short, easy questions. They love numbers, stats, and charts. So when you say, if you're going to do something, how much does this cost? Putting it costs between X dollars and Y dollars. Depending on the type of tilt-up warehouse and the part of the country, these are types of paints and coatings that could be recommended. They cost between X and Y per 5 gallons, right? Giving it this really direct, real, concrete information. They love that, right? So that's another great way to have your site get picked up and referenced. If you're going to do things about price, really giving accurate and transparent pricing ranges for price and cost questions. Some people want to do this. Some people don't want to do this. If you're going to do it, you need to be accurate and honest about it, right? And then this last one is something, if you have an SEO provider or company, is really something you could bring up with them, but it's using what's called FAQ and how-to schema markup. So schema markup is a technical language that was created by actually the big people were Microsoft, Google, and then other tech companies that create bots and crawlers. And it's kind of a universal language that allows web developers and SEO teams to mark up content on the back end of a website. And that markup is a universal language that makes it easier and faster for bots, crawlers, et cetera, to understand the content, index it, and categorize it. So by adding FAQ schema and how-to schema to these types of pages and the appropriate pieces of content on your website, you're making it easier for these large language models, et cetera, to digest and understand that information. Again, making it easier and more likely to show up. When it comes to frequently asked questions, people are always asking for inspiration. I got all of these by asking ChatGPT and kind of refining my search a little bit and kind of getting here and there. But, I did want to share some examples of frequently asked questions that I believe would make sense for anyone who's a interior, exterior commercial painter to put on their website, right? Obviously, you would change the San Diego to your local market or part of the country. But again, these are just some inspirations. You can take these, answer these. If you go to ChatGPT or Gemini and you type in, hey, give me 25 FAQs, Bob, and give it some direction, it will just give you topics and questions for days, right? So that's a pretty good area to explore. The next thing that we talk about in kind of some actionable items and what we can do to help increase our chances of ranking kind of in the AI is online reviews and reputation. Before I get into this, what I'm going to say is I understand where commercial painters come from, where they're like, GCs and project managers don't want to leave reviews. I paint for the government and they don't leave reviews. I paint for commercial property managers and Fortune 1000 companies and their employees aren't allowed to leave reviews. The reality is this. The search engines and the AI engines don't care about any of that. What they do is they're digesting publicly available information. And so they're really looking at reviews and they put a lot of faith into them because they look at them as third-party verified information, right? They look at it as a place that's sort of like, hey, that's real, that's authentic. So they care about them. Thus, we need to care about them. And so what we recommend here is kind of come up with a plan to try to add more reviews. If that's just making sure at the completion of every project, if you email the person and ask them, great. If you print out a business card with a QR code on it that someone can scan to get to your leave a review on Google on their phone, great, right? All those little things matter, right? But having a plan to ask is the only way you're ever going to really get there. Google reviews are the king, but platform diversity is important. Unfortunately, going back to my Grok example, Yelp is on there. We've also seen Yelp be extremely prevalent in ChatGPT results. It just kind of happens. The other thing we can do here is we can respond to reviews, negative and positive, on all platforms. That's kind of the online review part. Online reputation, the reviews are part of the reputation, but online reputation goes kind of beyond just reviews, right? As an AI engine is able to kind of crawl and look at and rapidly search the internet, they can look at tons of different things, right? And so some things that help enhance the reputation or demonstrate that you are a commercial painter, right? Industry groups and associations. So being a CPIA member, that enhances your online reputation, right? It helps show that you're a commercial painter, right? IFMA, BOMA, ABC, all the big construction and property and facility management groups are important. This next one's really interesting, right? So you can use Google Alerts to set up and monitor your business in top local keywords, right? So if your business is XYZ Painting, you can click that link when we send this deck out. You go to Google Alerts. I'll show you what this looks like on the next page. And you type in your name and then it'll just email you if you get mentioned anywhere in the news. You could put in commercial painting San Diego. It will alert you if that gets mentioned in the news anywhere. Another thing about online reputation is really we can do press releases around major awards and projects. Like if we get like a big, if you win the painter of the year or project of the year, or you get recognized as a subcontractor of the year, or you complete a big notable project at a state capitol building or something along those lines. Doing press releases pumps that news out across the internet. It gets picked up when the AI engines are reviewing. And again, it all goes into that building the narrative online that, hey, these are the top commercial painters in a market, right? Here's a quick screen grab of the Google alerts, right? And so again, we could just put these alerts in here. So I have our company in here. I have CPIA website, CPIA, right? As an example, you create these alerts. Again, if it gets mentioned anywhere in the news and things that in the Google's monitoring, it will just alert you right away. This is good, even if you don't care about SEO, AI, search, any of this. This is just good to know that maybe you don't get bashed in a newspaper article somewhere, or if you get mentioned positively, at least you know about it, right? So there is value on this kind of this Google alert thing outside of just from the AI standpoint. The next thing we talk about is on your website, right, is this topic called EAT, right, which is expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trust. AI platforms rely on these factors and ranking signals. when they're making recommendations and reviewing content. So some easy things that people can do that are listening or ask their marketing company to help with, right, is expertise. Really simple. If you're doing blogs and FAQs on your website, do an author bio and byline, right? So if Alta Vista does a blog or I do a blog and it gets attributed to me, it could say, in marketing, 15 years of experience marketing, member of these associations, appeared on these podcasts, presented to these groups, right? Again, just establishing that expertise of content. Experience. Project profiles are a really great way to do that, right? Include scope, timelines, industries, prime, GCs, notable customers. I have an example, I think, coming up of maybe a quick snippet for how to do one. Authoritativeness, right? If you make the ENR top 500 list, put it on there. If you get recognized as, an award, if you had if you have a certification from the government, right, or the state, right, put all those things on your website. Make sure that's all visible and relevant public content. A lot of people actually don't do these things, but it does help with that authoritativeness. The last thing is trust, right? Safety records, insurance, bonding, right? All different things that kind of show your trustworthiness as a painting contractor. Here's some examples of how you can put this EAT into action, right? So, again, profiles and project profiles are a great opportunity. Here's one that we just kind of made up, right? And, put together, and we had ChatGPT rough check it. But again, this is sort of what we mean here, right? Where it's not like, hey, we use Sherwin-Williams paint to do the walls of this building. This is what we use. This is the exact product. This is why. You can kind of see the stat in there. You can see we refer to like the eggshell sheen. We can see why we used it. We used an exact product. What we talk, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of digestible content in here for a machine to digest versus we use Sherwin-Williams paint to paint the walls in the corridors, right? Again, we're not thinking about how human beings digest this or use this or read this or interpret this. We're really talking about how an AI, a computer, right, will digest it. The next thing we talk about is local SEO. This is important for both AI and traditional search, but they rely heavily on local business information. So ensuring we have name, address, phone consistency across directory websites. Directory websites, Google Business, and Google is a directory website. Yellow Pages, 411.com, Bing, Yahoo, Chambers of Commerce, right? These are all directory websites. Anywhere that you will go find a list of businesses, contractors, whether it's just just painters or it's every business in a city, right? That's a directory. And so if we have consistent information across there, that's kind of a really core step. Building location and service specific pages with local project examples, right? So if you have a page of, hey, commercial painting in San Diego, here are 3 examples of commercial painting projects we did in San Diego. One's a tilt up, one's the airport, and one's an apartment complex, right? Again, we're starting to optimize for that local on our website and providing that content and information. Again, strong citations in local and industry specific groups, right? So I use some examples here, right? These could be customer specific. I'm sure people out there and members of CPIA do all these groups, but your IFMA, your BOMA, your CAI, your apartment association, connects, depending on who you are and how big you are, right? Industry, CPIA, ABC, Associated Builders Contractors, AGC. If you paint for tract home builders, you join the National Association of Home Builders. Interestingly enough, if, again, AI and how it is helpful, if you go to ChatGPT and you say, this is my business, this is my website, these are my target customers, this is the type of painting I do, and you say, give me 10 relevant industry groups or associations I could join in Southern California. It'll come up with them and it'll miss on a few, but it'll also uncover a few that you haven't heard of. The last one too that we like are chambers of commerce are great, and then local like industry groups and associations, right? This is a list of really 10 high impact directory citations that we would recommend looking at if you're going to go down this path, right? Kind of getting listed across these places and joining these groups. And I realize that some of this means you have to join ABC or you have to join BOMA, right? But these are very high impact citations that get, strong visibility and help really are sources where the AI engines are looking for information. All right, what's our summary of our actionable items, right? So number one, high quality FAQ content on your blogs and service pages, right? So FAQ, we could write an FAQ as a 1,000-word article and do a whole FAQ itself. If you write a blog about something, put 3 or 4 FAQs about that topic at the bottom. If you have a service page about electrostatic painting, put an FAQ on electrostatic painting on that page, right? As many places as you can incorporate FAQs, do it. Constantly get that reviews, and then also kind of building that online reputation through other channels. Google alerts for brand and keywords, strengthen your EAT signals, and then again, optimize kind of your local SEO and business listings, right? These are all actionable items that we would look at kind of coming out of, things that you guys can take away and do and implement into your own strategies. The last thing I put together today was a case study, and this was at request of CPIA. They said, hey, give us some case studies, give us some examples here, right? And so, kind of Alta Vista deployed an SEO strategy for this small commercial painter in Texas. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name cities. But what we will show here is, right, their organic keywords over a year increased from 136 to 593. Keywords that showed up in the top 5 results went from 1 to 56, right? Again, top 5, top 3, that's the place you really want to be. We almost doubled their backlink profile. In that year, they drove 60 organic web form submissions. We increased their domain authority from 3 to 9, so a 3x. And then, through their Google business and the local SEO initiatives, we were able to generate 166 first-time callers that called them for over a minute. A minute's a long time when you're talking on the phone and it's the wrong number, right? So just kind of some ideas there of how deploying an SEO strategy. And again, all of our SEO strategies incorporate things to boost AI visibility, monitor AI, right? But just again, some ways that, in a year you can really see kind of impactful results, right? So just a quick case study on there as well. That really is kind of the end of that section. I'll take questions on it at the end, which we're almost there. The last thing we talk about is really our key takeaways for the whole presentation today. Traditional search still dominates, but AI is a major discovery channel, right? Make that kind of abundantly clear. Hey, don't think SEO is dead. Don't think no one's using Google. Don't think, oh, it's only AI, because that's just the stats just don't support that. Commercial painters should be optimizing for both Google and AI search. Our biggest one here, and this is just an anecdotal piece of evidence, but Alta Vista, we have about 60 people in our office, 65 people every day. Anyone who's under 30, if you walk past their desk, their search engine is open to ChatGPT. That's where they all go first. And if you ask them, if you work with us, ask them. That's where they all go. It's what they all do. And our belief in general is that as the buyer demographic continues to shift younger, it's just going to become more prevalent that not only is it ChatGPT and AI driven, but it's also going to be Google driven. We see all kinds of web forms and inbound SEO leads for people, plenty of commercial, 100,000 square foot warehouses, 100+ location companies, right? We see hotels, we see really qualified commercial buyers and decision makers trending younger that are really using this online, right? So I think that's the idea of we got to optimize for both, kind of present and future. FAQ content is the #1 driver of visibility for informational prompts. An informational prompt is when someone's asking that more question, that Q&A, they're more in that discovery phase. They're looking for information. How much does something cost? What is this? Do I need a permit for that, right? Those are all informational things. commercial painter near me or top commercial painters, San Diego, right? Those are examples of transactional searches. They're kind of looking to buy. Online reviews and reputation signals matter more than ever. And then our last one is like local SEO remains essential for commercial painters to be found, right? So those are kind of the big takeaways that we wanted just to kind of run through today. That's the end of the presentation. I didn't want to take up too much of everyone's afternoon, and I didn't want to, draw it out too long. We wanted to hit on some high points. We hope everyone kind of got some takeaways there. The Q&A should be open on the Teams portal. If anyone has a question, they're more than welcome to kind of chat it in there or submit it. All of our contact information is up there. From the people I can see here, many of you already know us. You can get in touch with us. And then Megan on our team will also send out to everybody at some point in the next couple of days, maybe the next week. She'll send out a link to the webinar, and then she'll also send out kind of the slides if people would like to have them. So open for questions, or thank you for coming. And we appreciate the opportunity to share this information with you today. Oh, here we go. All right, so anonymous, what's the best way to ask for reviews? So it depends on the business. A high volume business, we would recommend some process around it, right? So if you're doing 50 jobs a year, you could probably do a little bit more direct ask and making sure you're following up directly. Things that we've seen successful. Now, let me walk this one back, right? So number one, I think it is from the moment you win a job or you're walking through a job, if you set the expectation that, hey, when this project's done, I just want to let you know we're going to ask for an online review. If you have a great experience, it's really important to our business. I'm just letting you know now we're going to ask. And kind of setting that table before, during, after, right? If you do a final walkthrough and they love it, just say, hey, John, hey, Jane, hey, Steve, hey, Susie, just a reminder, I kind of told you at the beginning, if you're very happy, which we're glad, we're going to ask for that review. From there, things that we've seen successful, business card with a QR code. If they scan it, it takes them right to your Google business. You keep a stack of those, you hand it to them, they're going to take it, they're going to put it in their pocket, maybe it works. From there, where I kind of go into like the scale of the business makes a difference here is if you're doing 20, 30, 40 projects a year and you're working with 20, 30, 40, a small cohort of customers, a direct appeal following that kind of project closeout is a pretty good way. So just hey, John, it's anonymous. We just finished that project at 101 Main Street. Here's a link to our Google. I'd love a review. That's a great way to do it. As businesses grow, right, you need to become more systematic in this because just having that direct appeal doesn't always work. What I would share there is things that we've seen is put a link on your invoices. If you have an automatic email that goes out from your accounting, put a link in that email signature, right? Put a link on your invoices. As you really get into volume of, let's say you're doing 50 jobs a month, right? 500 jobs a month, right? Process around outreach that automates it is really going to be important to create consistency. So from there, as you get bigger, a plan, and Alta Vista, when we help customers with this, we do it every 2 weeks. So like the 1st and the 15th, we take all the completed jobs from the prior 2 weeks. And what we do is we do email outreach. It's 4 emails. And then overlapping on that, if we have mobile, we do 3 text message asks. So we really ask 7 times. There is automatic cutoff in there. So if, John Doe clicks the second email, he doesn't get the next touches, right? But we're going to ask 7 times, and we do that over a course of about 3 weeks. When it becomes systematic like that of, We're just taking 20, 30, 40 names on the first. Reach out, email, text. 15th, the same thing. We have customers that have gone who have doubled and tripled their reviews in 12 to 24 months, right? So it does matter a little bit the size and scale of the business and how many people you have to ask, but set the table before, during, after the project. If they're really happy at a final walkthrough, hand them that card. If you're a small business without high volume and automation is probably not what you need, direct appeal via email and ask twice. Don't be afraid. Put it in your accounting email with the invoice, put it on your invoice directly. As the business, if your business is larger, you can still do those direct appeals, but then some sort of automation is also really beneficial. When asking, the other thing I always hint at when asking is, hey, anonymous, I'm reaching out, I'm following up. I'd like to ask for that review we talked about. You told us you had a great experience. Could you take 60 seconds and write a 2-sentence review about our business? When you say something along the lines of just write a review, it's open-ended. But when you even that little, like it's going to take 60 seconds, write 2 sentences. You're subliminally, you're kind of planting the seed, planting the message that, hey, this is not going to take me too long and they're not asking me to do too much. So I think that's a part of it too, right? So I know that's kind of a long answer, but that's again how I would do it. So set the expectation before, during, after, hand them that QR code, business card, direct appeal, and then automation as your business gets bigger. Great question. That's it for us today. Again, we'll send it out to everybody who registered. If our contact info is on there, if you want to talk to us, go for it. But other than that, we really appreciate everyone taking the time to join today.